Ever had one of those weeks where everything just piles up? Deadlines, bills, no sleep, and then someone pushes you just a little too far. I came home one night exhausted from work and school, dreaming about a $4 frozen pizza I'd been saving all week. It was my one small joy. And then, my roommate decided to ruin it. That night, something inside me snapped, and he learned that when you mess with a starving student's dinner, you're playing with fire. Literally. If you've ever had someone cross the line and you wished you could serve up a little justice, this one's for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and settle in, because this is the story of how one broke student got revenge. One perfectly burnt chicken breast at a time. I was in my late 20s, going back to school after my first career fizzled out. Tuition, rent, books. I was broke in every sense of the word. I'd taken a full-time load of night classes and a part-time job that barely covered groceries. So, to save money, I moved into what you might call a shared basement apartment. Picture this. A long, dimly lit hallway lined with 4 locked bedroom doors, all belonging to other struggling students. The air always smelled faintly of detergent and someone else's cheap cologne. We shared a cramped kitchen and 2 bathrooms that constantly had hair in the drains. Nobody talked much. Our only real communication came through sticky notes on the fridge and e-transfer reminders for the shared Wi-Fi bill. One night I got home around 10 p.m. completely drained. I just finished a shift at work and a 3-hour class that felt like it lasted an eternity. I opened the freezer and saw it. My frozen pizza. Pepperoni. Extra cheese. My weekend luxury. I slid it into the oven. 375 degrees. 25 minutes. Set an alarm on my phone and went to my room to change into sweatpants, dreaming about that first bite. About 12 minutes later I heard that sound. The old oven door squealing open. It was loud. You couldn't miss it. Then, a few seconds later, a door down the hall closed with a click. I frowned, paused my YouTube video, and walked back to the kitchen. The disrespect. I opened the oven and froze. Someone had shoved a massive tray of raw chicken breasts onto the rack next to my pizza. The smell of cold poultry filled the air. I stood there staring, confused. I didn't even know who it was, but whatever. Maybe they just didn't realize the oven was in use. I told myself to let it go, and went back to my room. I'd still have my pizza soon. The betrayal. When my timer went off, I practically jogged back to the kitchen. But when I opened that oven door, my heart sank. The cheese on my pizza wasn't golden, it was black. The crust was rock hard, burnt to a crisp. That's when I noticed the oven temperature. 425 degrees. Someone had turned it up for their chicken, without even thinking to tell me. I felt a slow wave of anger rise through me. My face got hot. My hands started to shake. This wasn't just about food. It was about respect, or the complete lack of it. That pizza wasn't much, but it was mine. And someone had decided their dinner mattered more. I sat at the counter, staring at the charred circle in front of me. The smell of burnt dough filled the air like an insult. I forced myself to take a bite anyway. It tasted like cardboard and sadness. As I chewed, I started spiraling. Why am I even here? Working and studying my ass off just to eat burnt pizza in a basement full of strangers who don't give a damn. Something in me twisted. The exhaustion, the loneliness, the quiet resentment. It all boiled over at once. The moment of resolve. I glanced back at the oven. His tray of chicken was still in there, juices bubbling under the harsh orange glow. And that's when it hit me. If he wants heat so badly, let's give him heat. Without saying a word, I turned the knob all the way up, to 500 degrees. I walked back to my room, closed my door, and waited. Revenge execution. About 10 minutes later, I heard the first pop. Then came the smell, sharp, smoky, unmistakable. Burnt meat. A faint beep 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 echoed down the hall as the smoke alarm kicked in, followed by frantic footsteps and muffled swearing. Smiled. I opened my door and stepped out into the dim hallway. The only light came from the flickering kitchen bulb. My roommate, This scrawny guy with messy hair and the perpetual look of someone who thinks the world owes him something, was standing at the oven, waving a towel through smoke, cursing under his breath. His baking sheet looked like a crime scene. Blackened chicken welded to the metal. The confrontation. I leaned casually against the wall, my voice calm but cold. "Everything all good, bud?" He jumped, turning toward me like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Yeah, he stammered. Just forgot to set the timer, I guess." "Happens," I said. "Oven runs hot sometimes." I let that hang in the air for a second, just long enough for him to realize I knew exactly what had happened. Then I turned and went back to my room, shutting the door with a quiet click. Aftermath. I sat down and took another bite of my ruined pizza. Still terrible, but somehow, it tasted better now. There's something strangely satisfying about poetic justice, even in small doses. After that night, the hallway felt a little quieter. No more mystery oven intrusions. No passive-aggressive fridge notes. Just peace, and the faint scent of burnt chicken that lingered for days. I moved out a few months later when I could afford a better place. But even now, years later, I still smile when I think about that night. Because sometimes, revenge doesn't need to be loud or messy. Sometimes, it's just a quiet twist of a dial and a simple question. "Everything all good, bud?" The best part wasn't the smoke alarm. It wasn't the look on his face. It was the silence that followed. From that night on, nobody messed with my food. Not once. And maybe it was petty. Maybe it was over a burnt pizza. But for one night, the world felt fair again. For one night, I wasn't the broke, overworked student in the basement. I was the guy who stood up for himself. Looking back, I don't regret it. Sometimes people only understand boundaries when they feel the burn. Literally. The lesson: don't underestimate the quiet ones. Especially if they're hungry. If this story gave you that warm glow of karma served hot, hit that like button and tell me in the comments. What's the pettiest, most satisfying revenge you've ever pulled off? And of course, subscribe for more stories of justice, payback, and the occasional overcooked chicken.